Hello everyone and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my college football playoff predictions. Starting with the semifinal predictions, those matchups are already set, and then from there I'm going to be giving you guys my college football champion, who's going to win it all this year. So, real quick, before we get into it though, I just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. We've been gaining a lot of subscribers recently. I would love to keep that up. So thank you guys for that. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Starting with the first semifinal matchup, which is Alabama versus Notre Dame, the 1 versus 4 matchup. And this year, this matchup is not very close. Alabama is 20-point favorites over Notre Dame in this game, and I agree with Vegas. This is a complete mismatch in favor of Alabama. I mean, you just look at them. Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, the best offensive line in the nation, Najee Harris, phenomenal defense with Nick Saban as head coach. It's going to be hard to stop this team. And, you know, I will give some credit where it's due because Notre Dame has had a good season. There's some bright spots on this team. And I think there's bright spots on this team. And one of those bright spots is Ian Book. I like him quite a bit. I think he does a really nice job as a college football quarterback, extending plays, making some throws with a high degree of difficulty, keeping his team in games, keeping drives alive, which I really like to see. And a good quarterback is always an X factor in a game. And I think if Notre Dame was to win this game, it would be on the back of Ian Book playing a great game along with the defense. That's just something to monitor, and that's just I do think Notre Dame has a chance to win. I just don't think it's very likely. Alabama is just so much more talented in so many aspects of the game. Just, roster-wise, they have more talent on their team. They're fantastic on third down, really get the moving on the ground. And I don't think it's going to be a close game. Alabama scores on everybody, and I don't think it's going to be any different here. Alabama wins 40-17, and as we have seen so many times before, Alabama is headed to play for a college football title. Next, in our second semifinal game, the one that I think is the better game of the two, is Clemson, Ohio State. There's a lot to look forward to for this game. I mean, you get Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Fields, the two best quarterbacks in college football, going head to head. There's that tension between these two teams. Dabo Swinney put Ohio State at 11 in his coaches poll, which many people, I'm sure, were fired up about on that Ohio State team. Lit a flame under Ohio State. So there's a lot to look forward to, a lot of interesting storylines in this game. Clemson is 7.5-point favorites in this game. And I first just wanted to look at the two matchups between the two sides of the football. And first, I wanted to talk about the Clemson offense versus the Ohio State defense, because obviously Clemson offense is great, and a big reason for that is because of Trevor Lawrence. No real major weakness in his game. He's the best quarterback in college football right now, and I don't think anybody's arguing with that. He makes so many great plays, has a huge arm, great athlete, and actually in last year's matchup with Ohio State, he was the leading rusher for this team. You got Travis Etienne on this team, Cornell Powell, Amari Rodgers, a lot of nice talent on this team, and it's a very good offense, but I do think Ohio State has a chance to limit this Clemson offense for sure. After losing Justin Ross for the season, this offense at times has looked shaky. It's struggled to get big plays really going down the field, and without those big plays, this offense has struggled. I mean, it's been definitely worse when it can't stretch out the defense and move the ball downfield with a lot of success, because defenses have less to worry about, and they can do more up in the box, stopping the run and things like that. But I think we have seen a little bit of a transformation, because in these past couple weeks, as I talked about, Cornell Powell, Amari Rodgers really stepping things up, allowing the downfield passing game to open up. But I do think Ohio State can maybe expose a weakness here in Clemson. If they can limit those big plays, it could really hurt this Clemson offense and what they can do against this Ohio State defense. And, I mean, not to mention, we're talking about last year's game. Ohio State was pretty successful at slowing down this Clemson offense last year. Lawrence, as I talked about, ended up being the leading rusher in that game because they really couldn't get the ball moving on the ground. And I know Ohio State's defense is not quite as good as last season, but that's definitely something to pay attention to. If Ohio State knows how to slow down Clemson's running game, that would be a huge thing. If they can limit those big plays, slow down the rushing game, Clemson's offense would be left with not too much to work with. But as I said, defense is not quite as good as last year. Their defensive backs have struggled at certain points this year. But I do think it's something to watch what this Ohio State defense does in terms of stopping the run and limiting big plays. That is a key. And then on the other side of things, you got this Ohio State offense, which has been great all year long with Justin Fields, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, and they've made a lot of huge plays happen, and they're the reason that this offense has been great. Fields, accurate, athletic, really nice arm, but I think this is one of the major differences in this game, and I think it's the difference between Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, because the difference between the two of them is that there's a major weakness in Justin Fields' game. It's been exposed multiple times this year, and that's that he's struggled much more when he's under pressure, when you can get pressure on him and, really force him to get the ball out quickly, not give him time to move between his reads. And that has been a weakness for Fields this season. It's forced bad decisions and really limited this offense. And, that was evident in the Indiana game, Northwestern game. I think Clemson is really going to recognize this and be sure to be bringing extra blitzes and getting pressure on Fields all game long. And I think they can really, really make Fields uncomfortable. And when Fields is uncomfortable, this offense is going to be uncomfortable and struggling. So I think that's definitely something to look out for. What does Clemson do? Can they get pressure consistently on Justin Fields? And another thing I will say is I think Clemson can match up well with Ohio State's wideouts. I really like Darion Kendrick, and I believe he can slow down Chris Olave, who is essential in this offense at getting open quickly. For example, when Justin Fields is under pressure quickly, he's got his first read, Chris Olave over the middle. So when you got a combination of a team that can get pressure and slow down that number one guy in Chris Olave, I think it can be very scary for this Ohio State offense. And I think it could lead to a lot of struggles for them. So I think we just talked about both sides of the ball, but I think this game for me and me picking the winner comes down to just a couple of things, and that's that Clemson's going to be able to move the ball more successfully against a worse Ohio State defense, while Ohio State is going to struggle more, in my opinion, as Fields going to be under pressure. Their number one in Olave will be covered all game long very well, and I just trust Lawrence and this Clemson offense more than I trust Fields and this Ohio State offense in this game. So I trust Clemson more than I trust Ohio State, and therefore I'm taking Clemson to win this game 37-26, jump out to an early lead, force a couple turnovers, and they're going to be able to control the clock with their run game. So I think Clemson takes this one and moves on to yet another college football championship where they will be facing Alabama. This is going to be the best game of the year if it happens. The two best teams in college football. And that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, the rivalry lives on. These two are the best programs right now in college football. They will meet up in the national championship. And I think major story in this game, we just talked about Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence. Now we get another quarterback battle, Trevor Lawrence versus Mac Jones. And I think this is the major place where Clemson has the edge in this game. I mean, no doubt, Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Mac Jones. I mean, just in terms of big plays down the field, being able to extend plays, being able to be a dangerous threat with his legs, and I think that's great. And I think that Mac Jones does work well in this Alabama offense, but I do think Clemson definitely gets an edge in terms of the quarterback. And the quarterback is the most important position. I think Lawrence is an X factor in this game, and if he plays very well, Clemson is going to end up playing very well as well. And it's going to be tough for Alabama. But, I mean, we just look at Alabama. I mean, we talked about Mac Jones. Not too hard for him to be very good when he's got a plethora of weapons, Devontae Smith and Najee Harris and guys like that who are going to be really tough for Clemson to slow down, specifically Najee Harris. And I think this is one of the main things that determined the game for me. And that's, we've seen Najee Harris kind of be unstoppable all year long for this Alabama offense. Really just been super impressive. And there's been some times when this Clemson run defense is not. I mean, in that first matchup against Notre Dame was able to run the ball very, very successfully. And that was with a worse running back and a worse offensive line. So I think, you get this running game that's going to be very dangerous for Alabama. I think they're going to take advantage of it. And maybe if Clemson cannot stop the run, that would be a huge issue for them. So that's one of my main things. I do think it'll be a phenomenal game, and I don't have too much to say about it other than we will see what happens. Obviously, I just pointed out some of the major things. Trevor Lawrence versus Mac Jones. I like Trevor Lawrence, but I think just in terms of talent overall, Clemson is less talented. I think Lawrence will make this game competitive, but at the end of the day, as I talked about, more talent on that Alabama team. Mac Jones, I don't think he's as good as Lawrence, but he is good when he's comfortable. Alabama's going to make him comfortable. Just the offensive line, the pieces around him are going to be a little bit too much for Clemson to overcome. I think Alabama wins this game 38-35 and sends Trevor Lawrence to the NFL with a loss, and Alabama is the national champion this season. All right, those are my predictions for college football playoffs this season. Let me know what you think down below. As always, like, comment, subscribe, whatever your thoughts are. And yeah, until next time, peace.